Next guest kept calm, took the advice of her doctors, and now says she has survived coronavirus. She thinks she contracted the COVID-19 at a party, and a few days later woke up with a soaring fever. Elizabeth Schneider, she joins me right now. And Elizabeth, we're so glad that you're well, and it's helpful, I think, for everybody to hear from somebody who's experienced this. So walk us through just what happened and when you really suspected something might be up.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here and share my experience with everyone. So yes, as you mentioned, I did go to a house party. It was on a Saturday. 3 days later, I woke up in the morning and I was feeling a little tired, but I thought I had just gone out a lot the previous weekend and that I overexerted myself. I went to the office. Around midday, I started to get that feeling that we all can recognize and commiserate with, where I felt like I was coming down with something. Around midday, I decided to go home. I worked from home the rest of the day. I took a nap. By the time I was getting ready to go to bed, I had a fever. It spiked at 103 degrees. At that point, I knew that I had definitely come down with something. But to be honest, my first response was not panicking and worrying and thinking that I had the coronavirus. This was more than 2 weeks ago, and at that point, the outbreak of coronavirus had not spread so far as it has in the United States, and especially not in Seattle. And also, among my symptoms, I did not have a cough. I didn't have any tightness in my chest or shortness of breath. I had symptoms that are basically typical symptoms of the flu. So I really thought that I just had a really nasty flu. It wasn't until a few days later that I happened to go on Facebook. I saw a Facebook post from one of my friends who was at the party, and she was also sick, and she was asking if anyone else was sick. And that's when a bunch of us from the party all responded and said that we were all sick.
Wow. So how many of you were all sick?
So there are, to my recollection and counting, there are about a dozen of us from a party of about 35 people that all fell sick. And as of just this afternoon, I found out that, including myself, there are 8 people who have tested positive for COVID-19.
My goodness. So you feel better now?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I feel great. I feel healthy. I have my energy back. I still feel a little bit tired. You know, I have an elliptical machine here sitting in my dining room, and I'm not quite ready to jump up there and sweat it out, but I do feel better. I feel well. I feel healthy. I feel recovered.
So what was it like? So you obviously quarantined yourself. You were pretty sick. How long did that last? And are you still under quarantine?
So I fell sick on a Tuesday, as I said, and at the time when I fell sick, I did not know that I had COVID-19. In fact, I didn't go to my doctor at all because I was recovering on my own. It wasn't until basically almost 2 weeks later, this past Saturday on March 7th, that I got a call that a study I had submitted, a study sample I submitted to the Seattle Flu Study, a research study here in Seattle, had tested positive for COVID-19. And by that point, I had already recovered and I was feeling better. And again, I just thought it was the flu. So at that point, the guidelines they told me was to stay home for 7 days or 72 hours after your fever breaks. And I had passed that point.
Wow. Wow. Well, what's your advice to people right now who are worried about this? What would you say to them?
I would say to them, please don't panic. This is a new virus. It's something that is just being discovered by scientists and studied, and it's recently been infecting humans. But I do believe that if you are healthy and if you don't have any underlying health conditions, you can survive with self-care and with going to the doctor if you need to. But that being said, this can be a very severe situation for people who are elderly and immunocompromised or have underlying health conditions or just got over cancer or just got over surgery. So please be mindful of those people. And even if you aren't necessarily testing positive for coronavirus, if you feel that you're getting some of these symptoms, please stay home and isolate yourself. Stay
home. Important advice. Social distancing, the word of the moment. Elizabeth, thank you so much. I'm glad you're feeling so much better.